Jim Brown.
We talked a little bit in that last segment about the fact that Donald Trump supposedly has 750 lawsuits against him because of business discussions or business decisions that were made. Trump University, his university, there's a number of lawsuits there. Now he's going to be the president. What do you do in a case like that? I mean, can the president basically have to go to court every day and give depositions? And how's that going to work? I wanted to get some legal advice on it. Quentin Brogdon is an attorney over in Dallas, Texas. He's a trial lawyer over there, very well respected throughout the state of Texas, and I thought he'd be a great guy to put this in perspective for me. Hey, Quentin, glad you joined us on the Common Sense Show today.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Quentin, tell me about what do you think as an attorney, and you've been in court on so many occasions. I know that sometimes someone can't be there and they ask for a continuance, but what happens when you've got the President of the United States that's trying to keep us safe from attacks all over the world, and he's supposed to go give a deposition or have to go to court because he's being sued? What do you think the courts will do in handling a situation like that?
Well, there were two big precedents, two U.S. Supreme Court cases. The first one was in 1982 after Nixon had left office, and the Supreme Court said you have immunity as the president for damages based on your official acts while you're in office. But then in the Clinton case, which involved Paula Jones in 97, it was a unanimous holding. They said there's no immunity for the president for acts before the presidency. So all of these pending suits, filed by Trump and against Trump, all relate to things he did before he became or will become president. And so those cases can go forward. They don't get stopped automatically just because he's president.
That's going to be interesting, isn't it? I guess what that would do, let's assume you had a client that was suing Donald Trump, it'd probably give you some pretty good leverage to settle the lawsuit, I think, wouldn't you?
Well, the big one pending, and there are several cases, but the big set of litigation pending is that Trump University case. And the judge said, you guys need to sit down and talk about settlement. They had been pretty far apart. The attorney for the students said we've been miles apart, but the judge strongly urged the parties just last week to sit down and talk, and Trump's attorneys, within 2 days after the election, agreed. So I think there will be an impetus for them to try and put this behind them. Trump's already testified in the Trump University, litigation by deposition, but in theory he could have to come down to the courthouse. The judge has indicated he'd probably let him testify by video if he wanted to testify again, from a different location. But he, just because he's president, can't say, I don't have to fool with this. The courts can delay the cases until after he gets out of office, for instance, but they don't have to do that.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting to see that, the defense will be, my gosh, do you realize how important this man is and how busy he is? But the system has set its limits and set its parameters. And I would agree with you as a practicing lawyer that, if you open yourself that kind of, now I guess the thing is now, let me give you the caveat. What about things that he's doing now? What if there are some nuisance suits where people are suing him saying, well, during the campaign he did this or that, and like when Corey Lewinsky, his campaign manager, bumped some reporter, and you say there is an exemption for what he does in his official capacity as president, but anything, let's assume that, just for the sake of argument, he had a car wreck and it got to or maybe he's not driving the car, may not be the best example, but there was something involving his personal attributes as president, not in the official capacity he did. He came into a restaurant and got mad and poked a guy or something like that, I guess. He would not have liability for something like that, correct?
Well, once he becomes president, his acts are basically the acts of the United States of America, and you can sue the government for those acts in certain circumstances, and they become official acts. But it's interesting you mentioned a car wreck. There were at least 4 presidents who had previous, civil things going on before they became presidents. Teddy Roosevelt back when he was police commissioner, fired a policeman, and that suit went forward even after he became president. Harry Truman, when he was a judge, declared or participated in declaring an attorney insane. That suit went forward after he was president. And Kennedy was in a vehicle wreck while he was campaigning, and 2 suits went forward. Of course, the Kennedy suits were settled. The Roosevelt and the Truman things ended up getting dismissed. And then, of course, the big one was Clinton with Paula Jones, and ultimately led to his impeachment. He didn't get convicted. So there's precedent for presidents being held accountable for things that happened before. This would not be the first time with Trump. What is unprecedented is the number of cases. Just in the last year, there have been, by one count, over 70 cases filed, about half by him and about half against him, just in the last year. And over, the last 3 decades or so, 3,500 legal actions that he or his companies have been involved in. So the sheer scale and number is very unprecedented, no question.
3,500. That's unbelievable for any. I mean, you think General Motors wouldn't get 3,500 suits them in a year. Here you got Donald Trump, who's now the president.
That's right.
Well, it's going to be fascinating for the legal community to watch and to put it all in perspective. Right. Boy, he's going to be a law firm would love to get his overall representation. I guess he's got that up in New York now, one firm, but they're going to be having a field day trying to deal with all this stuff now to protect his image and not let to have the photo ops of him going into court. And you like to pick up that as a client, wouldn't you? Wouldn't it be a great thing to have, right?
Well, he's going to be spending, it's going to be a little bit of a test of just how rich he is, because either he's going to be spending a whole bunch of money settling cases or a whole bunch of money paying a platoon of lawyers. One thing is clear, we, the taxpayers, do not have to pay lawyers to defend him things that happened before he became president. That is clear. Yeah. But one way or the other, he's going to be out a bunch of money, whether borrowed or whether he has it stashed in accounts somewhere. He's going to be out a bunch of money.
That was my next question to you. I wonder, legally, can he create a legal defense fund, the Donald Trump legal defense fund, that people could donate to, because you see a lot of these times these politicians get into trouble in things not directly involving their office. They put a defense fund together. So it'd probably be pretty easy for the president to raise all the legal fees he needs to create a defense fund. I wonder if that'll be an option for him. It'll be interesting to watch, won't it?
It will. The conflicts of interest rules on the president are kind of in a class by themselves. He doesn't have to, for example, divest his business holdings and put them in a blind trust. It's kind of accepted that that's what he should do, but already he's saying he's going to have his children running that, and they're also participating in his transition team. So some have cried foul over that already. So you're right. It will be an interesting question what he can do, legally, and I don't think there are a whole bunch of boundaries on him as the president as far as conflicts, and then what he should do and what the American public will accept him doing.
Well, we'll have a chance to talk about this again, Quentin. Thanks for being on our show. Quentin Brogdon is a Dallas attorney. He's been named one of Texas' top lawyers in a number of publications. Give me the name of your firm over there, Quentin, if someone has a question or something they want to follow up on. What's your website?
Sure. We are Crain Lewis Brogdon, and our website is Crain, C-R-A-I-N, Lewis, Lewis.com.
Good. CrainLewis.com. Got it down here. Quentin, have a great weekend. Thanks for putting that in perspective for us, because a lot of people, I'm sure, had some questions when they read that. Hope we can talk about it again with you in the months to come. Take care.
Thanks, Jim, for having me on.